we'd like to ask for David Bizianes if he would come up and share with us for the Chamber. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is David Bizianes. I'm the Executive Director of the Oldham Chamber and Economic Development Office, and I want to thank Karen and the Main Street program for inviting me to be here tonight. For those of you that don't know, our Chamber of Commerce is merged with Economic Development, and we are a private-public partnership and have been since 2010. So we're really two entities that kind of work in concert with one another. We have a small staff of 3 full-time people and a part-time office manager. And on the Chamber side, we work to try to put on programs and events and offer services to help our local business community be able to connect with one another and create some growth in our area. And on the economic development side, of course, we're responsible for attracting new business to our community and working with our existing business to expand and create jobs. You'll notice in Oldham County, when it comes to our Chamber of Commerce, you'll see a lot of changes that have happened with some of our programs and events over the last couple of years. One of the challenges we have in the Chamber business is that chambers have changed quite dramatically over the years. Initially, chambers were started to offer an opportunity for people to connect, but now we live in an age where people are digitally connected every single day. And that makes places like ours have to stay on the front lines of modernizing our events and make sure that we're offering the types of services that people are able to utilize. Many of us in here are professionals who have come from a background where we didn't have the social media connections or some of the opportunities that people use nowadays, but a lot of these young professionals who are up and coming connect in totally different ways. So it's upon us to make sure that we're getting to those people and offering what we can do to help them grow their businesses here. We've done it in several ways. One of the things that we have done, I'll use as an example from our Chamber side, is that we had started an online program called the Chamber Challenge. We started last year. I was actually pretty skeptical about this. Some people in the office came up with the idea, May Marks and Kanisha Kelsey, and they sat down and said, if we were to create an online program that was to work with our local businesses on trying to be healthy, and all they would have to do is log in each week and get some tips on eating better and health tips and whatnot, that could be something that our offices would get involved in. And I was pretty skeptical. I thought, who really gets involved in those online things? But what really has happened has been somewhat transformative from the programs and services that we offer, in that it has actually engaged many of our members. Traditionally, if we have a luncheon, we'll have a representative from an office come to that luncheon. But with the Chamber Challenge, what we saw was entire offices getting involved. Our first Chamber Challenge had over 100 participants, and a lot of the people who don't normally get access to know some of the things that we offer are now being more engaged and involved in our Chamber, and they're making connections for their businesses, and it's actually churned a lot of commerce. So we've created 3 Chamber Challenges. Our third one will start here in November. Metro United Way has decided to partner with us, and we're going to focus. Our first one of the year is around financial fitness with Right Path Financial, and then the health care component was through Passport Health, and then Metro United Way is going to do a month of service, so we can get focused on how our businesses can get more engaged in some of the needs around the community. So we're excited about those types of programs. With economic development, I mean, there's no, it's interesting when you look at economic development. You notice all the changes that are going on in our community right now and the growth that we have. But when it comes down to what is it we want to have in our community, it's really a complicated question, because we all enjoy the quality of life we have. We don't like traffic, but we want to have that restaurant that we want to go to on the weekend. We want to have that opportunity to work in that business. And so when we look at what it is we want to get as far as business growth in our community, it really has to revolve around some very important principles. One of those is, well, who are we? What do our demographics look like? Well, we have the healthiest and the wealthiest and the highest educated population in the entire Commonwealth of Kentucky, which is wonderful. Over 50% of the people in Oldham County have an associate's degree or better. Over 40% of them have at least a bachelor's degree or better, which poses a challenge for us being adjacent to a major metropolitan area, in that the majority of our workforce every day commutes out of our community to go into another area to work. So our task is not like every other county. We have a educated population that leaves during the day that we want to try to make sure that we have the types of businesses that the people who work out of our community can actually work here. So it changes the approach on our attraction efforts. So what were our priorities? What are the priorities that we have when we're trying to target what types of businesses we have? Well, number one, we want to have good quality jobs. Number two is we want to grow our tax base. And number three, which is really the most important, is we want to make sure that we're protecting our quality of life and working to enhance that quality of life. And that is not an easy task when you're balancing all these things. So, you know, you don't have to look far to see a lot of the changes that we have going on around here. And when you see all of this boom of new businesses and new restaurants opening up and expansions that are going all over the place, and you see them in the Oldham area every time you open up the paper or Business First, and it's very exciting. None of this happened by accident. There's actually been a lot of effort and a lot of work that has gone in by a lot of people. Many of them are in this room here, and many of them had served on our fiscal courts and our city councils as our chamber directors, as our board members, and various community leaders over the years that have put forth this effort to create the environment that we now are starting to reap some of the benefits from. And one of those things I'm really talking about, where I feel like our current elected officials, some of whom are here tonight, really deserve commendation, is the growth of our infrastructure has been really dramatic. I mean, all the way from the state to the county to the city levels. I mean, we have a very engaged electorate that is going out and trying to advocate for our business community and our residents to be able to have safe roads to travel on, but access for us to prepare for growth that we want to have later on in our life. So just to name a few of those, because they're not insignificant. I mean, there's literally $64 million of road projects that have been underway for the last several years. In 2015, the Louis Dampier Bridge that connects Commerce Parkway to New Moody Lane, which is now connecting to Grange Parkway, which should be open any month now. We've heard possibly as early as January in 2018. Grange Parkway will open up, which creates an entire new bypass to get around exit 22 and opens up the back of our lead economic development asset in Oldham Reserve, which is a mixed-use business park that we've been working with that holds our top employer. The Rawlings Group, as you know, has made a tremendous impact on Oldham County. I mean, we're sitting in this building right now as a result of the investments that they have made. And we have an employer who came here in 2005 with 500 employees and has grown to 1,400 employees. And they're adding 40 jobs every 60 days at an average salary of $77,000 a year. It is a tremendous boom to what happens around here in Oldham County. You don't just have to look at the traffic that it causes, but also look at the traffic it creates in our restaurants and in some of our small businesses, because it has a tremendous effect and is something that will be a lasting effect that will actually drive this community in the direction that we hope to continue to go. The Grange Parkway opening, Commerce Parkway has been growing quite a bit. There's a lot of new projects that are going on up and down Commerce Parkway. Fortunately, our fiscal court yesterday approved some efforts to do some surveying and to look at the possibilities of widening Commerce to be able to accommodate for the growth that goes on there, as well as do some preliminary design work to try to get potential ramps and create a new interchange at what would be exit 20 at the Louis Dampier Bridge. Those are all very proactive efforts. This will take many years to get through, and all of the work that we are working from had taken many years to get to this point. 393's realignment, and it's which is actually, I think it's completed, and will actually, the next phase is we'll be going underneath the railroad tracks and create a better safe environment for our safety officials who have to get to people who are in need. But also, every time there's dirt moving, our phone in our office rings. And people are calling and asking, what's moving over there, and how much is the land? What can I build? Where can I build my business? We hear that there's a great workforce in Oldham County. Where should we go? And those are exciting things to look at. But we have to continue as a community to be mindful that with this growth will come growing pains. It will create traffic. It will create a scenario where we're not all happy about how it works, but we're not in a static environment. This is a fluid scenario that will continue to develop and grow as long as we stay focused on what that quality of growth is. Oldham Reserve, I mentioned earlier, is another example of, I think, what this community holding to its vision of what type of growth that it wants. Oldham Reserve was created for the very reasons that I had said, quality jobs and a growing tax base. Well, when we look at Oldham Reserve, we've had many opportunities over the years to have projects go in Oldham Reserves that weren't quite the right fit. The Oldham LaGrange Development Authority, which is the board that oversees that, along with the city councils and the fiscal court, have showed tremendous courage in making sure they said, no, that's not the right fit, that's not what we invested in this money for. So we're going to wait until we can get those better jobs and those better things. And as a result, we're seeing activity pick up and interest pick up, especially with all of the new infrastructures beginning to come online. A couple of other items I thought were worthy of mention as far as our leadership and some of the investments they're making. In the city of Crestwood, I don't know how many of you have heard of the Maples Park, but the city of Crestwood has made a tremendous effort in creating a new space that will be a public space and park that will have an amphitheater. They've purchased buildings that they will plan on renovating or creating new retail space and restaurant space. And each one of these pieces gives us a sense of an identity outside of the thought that we are some bedroom community to the city of Louisville. The truth is, this county has a lot of history, and it has a lot of significance that was here long before our school system was the best in the state. So we hope to maintain those types of things as we can continue to draw growth, but all of those qualities that I'm going through are really part of the drivers of what brings some of the projects that we have in. So just to share with you some of those projects, I mean, and I forgot a couple things to say. I'm going to back up a little bit. Our chamber in 2014 initiated an effort to make our county have an opportunity to hold a special election to decide whether or not we wanted to go from a moist county to a wet county. It was a very important initiative, and we sit here today, we're 2 years into having a wet county. There aren't strip clubs all over the place. There aren't a bunch of bars all over the place. In fact, we have a bourbon and ale house. It's a great establishment where you can go have a drink with a colleague and have a good snack. And it's been quite an addition to our community. But in addition to that, we've seen our local artisan distillery have an expansion, produce more. Consider they're doing barrel warehousing project as part of their expansion. We have Third Turn Brewing, which has come in from J-Town, some young entrepreneurs who have come out here, who were invited by our Director of Tourism to come take a look at Oldham County, and have taken a property which had been kind of run down and are turning it around into something really unique. They should be opening any day now. These types of projects are the things that will actually help pull people from eastern Jefferson County into Oldham County, rather than the opposite, where we drive by our existing restaurants and go shop or entertain into East Jefferson County. There's small movements. I love what Nancy said about, a year ago we didn't have some of these things, and it is in our roles, it's easy to get bogged down into this is a long process and feel like what really are we accomplishing some days. But when you back up and you take a look at it and you hear all of the things that are being said by these other leaders we have in our community, it is a tremendous, it's tremendously encouraging. Our community has been asking and clamoring for more restaurants. We have a lot of new restaurants that are coming. We have a local restaurateur who's growing leaps and bounds, and it seems like every week he's got a new concept for a restaurant that opens up, and you go into it and it's packed and it tastes great, and it's wonderful. He's a local guy who's investing here locally, and we love that, and we support him. Our community supports our local business in that sense. But we also know that we need some more, and we want some more of that. Our restaurant owners want to have more restaurants, and they want to create some more of this synergy. So we've partnered with our fiscal court, the city of LaGrange and the city of Crestwood, with a company out of North Texas called Buxton. We've about 4 months in. This is a long process, but it's already starting to show some rewards in some site visits that we've had from some national retail chains as well as restaurants, and we're very optimistic about some of the results that we're going to get from that. So just to share a few of the projects, when you look and you think about, and I think sometimes it's easy to go, well, there's another auto parts store, or we got this over here. Well, those employers give jobs to people. And we have a tremendous amount of new things that are coming online here, from everything from the Third Turn Brewery that I've mentioned to you. We have a winery, Veering Creek Winery, which also is the largest hops farm in the state of Kentucky, which will be working with our new brewery in creating an Oldham County brew. We have our distillery expansion, as I had mentioned. We have the Sauerback Family Drive-In, which will be opening up on Commerce Parkway, which the drive-in theater is making a comeback nationally. It's interesting. We're going to have something like that here, and everybody's claiming they can't wait to go see it. To be able to entertain your family in a safe, friendly environment right here without having to jump on I-71 and drive for 30 minutes to get into somewhere else. Multiple restaurants, we have warehousing projects, manufacturing projects, 2 hotels scheduled for Grange. Kim had mentioned the Hermitage Farm restaurant, high-end restaurant. Again, another thing out in the county where we will draw people into our county to entertain. And Ashburn Farms and their renovation for their event space. A regional university we've been in conversations with. And then we have this small pharmaceutical company in the city of Crestwood, which just recently raised an additional $60 million of revenue to be able to take one of their new pharmaceutical products to market. That's over $150 million of revenue that this business has been able to raise, and they're sitting right there in Crestwood. So we have a tremendous amount of things that are on the plate and that are exciting when we look at them. And when you consider all of these projects, one thing that really stands out is each of them is a quality project. And that is the type of development we want in Oldham County. We're okay with it taking our time. We want these to be quality projects so we can make sure that we're maintaining this quality of life and we're growing the kind of community that all of our citizens would hope to have, rather than force development on people. This is more of it's a constant conversation we have here with these bodies and with the constituents of our elected officials. So it's taken a while to get here. It's going to take a while to continue to get further down this road, but there are a lot of good people who are doing a lot of good work to get us there. So I appreciate the time, and thank you for having me here.